All right. Do police have a duty to protect others from harm? My name is Anthony Bandiero, attorney and senior legal instructor for Blue to Gold Law Enforcement Training. Bring out Roadside Chat. All right. So this question is a very quick question. It's an officer who says, "Hey, I took some training a while ago, and the presenter talked about how police do not have a duty to protect others, right? They have discretion. I'm trying to figure out where that case is." All right. That case is a very, very famous case called De-escalation versus Winnebago County. It's a case from 1989, and it's a seminal case on this area about essentially, look, you have a moral obligation. You have a professional obligation, ethical, right? To do your job, to go save people, to protect others from harm and so forth. But when it comes to the law, when it comes to, hey, you did not show up in time, or you were negligent in your arrival and you end up crashing, and if you would have arrived, I would have not been robbed. I would have not, a person's life would have been saved. All those type of things. At the end of the day, if police fail to protect others from harm and the police were not the cause of it, there's generally no liability under the Constitution. As the Supreme Court said, let me read you a quote. Nothing in the language of the Due Process Clause, right? What do you do from the government? That's really what due process is, right? What's due to you? Itself, nothing in the language in the Due Process Clause itself requires the state to protect the life, liberty, and property of its citizens against invasion by private actors. The clause is phrased as a limitation on the state's power to act, right? Not as a guarantee of certain minimal levels of safety and security. It forbids the state itself. It forbids the state itself to deprive individuals of life, liberty, and property without due process of law. But this is not applicable to private actors. Consistent with these principles, our cases have recognized that the Due Process Clause generally confers no affirmative right to governmental aid, even where such aid may be necessary to secure life, liberty, or property interests, which the government itself may not do, right? So we got a job out to do, right? The firefighters, they got a job, ambulances, police, and so forth. But when it comes to liability, it just is not that simple. You just don't have a right for the government to protect you. Now, can we also talk about, look, the U.S. Supreme Court just affirmed in a case called Bruin, right? New York Pistol and Rifle Association versus Bruin, a case where they said that people have a fundamental right to carry firearms outside the home for self-protection. And I think to myself, well, this is a perfect example of why. Because I know New York City doesn't like it, and they're like, but we have a 40,000 person police force. But if you want your citizens to depend on your police force, well, then you better guarantee them some one-on-one protection, right? I mean, are you going to have NYPD walking with you're going to assign a personal police officer to everybody so that they don't get robbed? Is that what you're going to do? If not, then people have a right to be their own first responder. In fact, isn't that the case? Aren't we, at the end of the day, aren't police really second responders in many ways, right? The first responder is people. They should have some a dog in the fight as far as their own protection about, how can they protect their family? So I just want to kind of throw that in there, is that the Fourth Amendment and the Due Process Clause and the Second Amendment kind of all interweave together. The Second Amendment is there actually for people's protection. So going back to De-escalation, that's your case. Of course, we don't want to shirk our duties. That's not the message here. But in order to be sued for not protecting somebody, it's very hard. And I got to give you one last example. I remember, watching stories during the riots, right? And how store owners were really upset in Seattle and Chicago and so forth, where the police were standing by watching looters, but they did not engage for various reasons. They didn't have enough manpower. Maybe the politicians didn't want them to get involved, whatever. And some of those store owners were saying that they were going to sue the police for not protecting their property when they could have done something. And I feel for them. If I was a store owner in Seattle and Chicago and so forth, I'd be very upset too. But legally, almost impossible, right? It's almost because of the shading. There's no due process right. Anyway, interesting conversation. There's your answer, my friends, and I hope that helps. Until next time, hit the like button, share, subscribe. I really appreciate it. It helps the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.